Stand comedy club.
Yep, exactly.
Cracking place to do stand up. Nice, small, low ceilings, audience packed in.
Yeah.
And that's
Right,
what you
close
want.
up to you.
And that's what you want. Close, you can see their eyeballs.
Yeah,
and when they don't laugh, you can see them not laughing. If you do a big arena, you cannot see anything like that.
Yeah.
But if you didn't make them laugh here,
Yeah,
you see them, you
See
know.
up close.
Yeah.
How is it if like a joke doesn't go down so well?
What? Why does a joke doesn't go down so
No,
well?
how do you react to that?
Well, the thing is, I've been in this for 30 years, and the thing is, it's very subjective to stand up, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, it's you can't make everybody laugh. It's impossible. I mean, I've been in this for 30 years, and there's always somebody that you're not going to make laugh,
Yeah.
and that's just the way it is, because it's one of the most subjective art forms you can get. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't like peas. But I don't go to Tesco's and stare at them on the shelf,
Yeah.
peas. So it's like you just have to, you just. I've been doing this for so long that I can always get out. I think in 30 years I've heard 5 heckles that have been brilliantly funny. If somebody says something funny to you,
Yeah.
you just
That's
go with it.
great,
You just
isn't
go
it?
with it. You just go with
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With it being your 30th anniversary, how does it feel performing tonight? Are you nervous or?
No, I didn't get nervous now, I used to when I first started off, because I started my own club, that's how I got into it, I gave Ross Noble his first,
Yeah.
Ross Noble was 14 when he first played my club,
God.
and I had Frank Skinner and Steve Coogan and Eddie Izzard on when they were just on the circuit, and Jack D and Joe Brann, and I started comparing, and that's how I got into it, and so, you used to come in and see the microphone, stand there and think. I remember once I was doing this gig I'd been doing it for a while. I was eating this burger, and it was a young lad. It was an open spot, and he was looking at us and he goes, "How can you eat just before you go on?" I went, "I've been doing it for a long time." And he went, "I haven't been able to eat for 5 days." And I can remember what that was like, But
Yeah,
now I don't get. I get, if it's a big show,
Yeah.
I get itching to go on, because the thing about it, the worst thing is just hanging about before the show.
Yeah.
I mean, once you're on stage, it's like a snowball. It just goes.
Yeah.
And you play with the room, and you play with it. And I like to play with the room. I do a lot of material, but I also like to play around and find things to do. And in hopefully your audience is up for it, because it's a two-way thing, If you've got an audience who just wants to sit there and just go, "Come on, make us laugh."
Yeah.
It's harder, but that's why the audience are complicit in stand-up. That's why I think people find it frightening, because if you're in a band, you can just play, and you can just get lost in the thing. You don't need to have any reaction in it. All right, it's great to have it at the end, but if they didn't do anything, you would just still be able to play,
Just continue.
But with
There's no
comedy, it's totally in the moment,
Definitely.
and that's why I think people are frightened of it,
Yeah.
But it's great to be able to just think of mad things in your head,
And
walk on
Be
stage,
able to see it.
and say it, and people find it funny.
Yeah.
And that comes from you learn to find your voice. You learn to find what you do normal. And I love doing stand up. I mean, that's I've done a lot of film acting now, but I would never stop doing stand up, because I think it's. I mean, walking on stage in a room full of people that you've never met before, strangers in a room, and you get them all to laugh, and you build a sort of a rapport, and you build a sort of.
You feel like you build a connection. With
Yeah.
them,
Well,
right?
that's what you have to do. It's essential. That's what you have to do. You
Yeah.
have to build a connection. You have to make every single person in that room think that you're talking just to them, and what they want to be thinking is, "I'd like him to be my mate."
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about,
Yeah.
And when even people like Kevin Bishop, who I think I've known Kevin since he was a young lad comic, and Kevin Bishop sells out massive big arenas, and there's 15,000 people there.
Yeah.
But you ask any of them, and they'll all feel like, he's me mate talking to us, because he's got that lovely, beautiful way of just looking like he's a lad just talking. You know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah.
It's just. Oh, he's my funny mate. You know what I mean? And they don't fit.
People go and tell that story. That he's just told us if it's
And that's what you need to do. You need to build you need to build. I believe you need to build it's a love affair.
Yeah.
That's what it is. No, it is. I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous, but there's a lot of comics who work on the circuit, and you can work on the circuit for years. You can be an adequate comic, but the comics that go really, really big are comics that the audience love.
Yeah.
And people love Mickey Flanagan, people love Jack D. They fall in, and what it is it's they fall in love with them. So they'll go and buy their DVDs. They'll go and go and see them. And I think that's a really the essence of stand-up if you can make your audience fall in love with you,
Yeah.
you know?
What does it feel?
I'm not too old for that, so they just got... What I think of me is I'm some... Oh, poor old... Oh, look at him. Oh, look at the little old bloke there laughing away. Oh, he could be my granddad. It's like me funny granddad. It's like I go around to the Charlotte Housing unit and there's me granddad making funny jokes.
With you talking about like having Ross Noble on his first one, are you proud to see him doing so well?
Well, Ross is great. I mean, Ross, when he first came in, he wasn't as good as he was when he first... But, you know, Ross had an idea that he wanted to do... you know, he wanted to go down the road he wanted to go on, and it's great. I mean, like, he does massive big tours in Australia and in over here. He's got a great inventive mind, you know what I mean? And he's you know, and I remember when he was a kid, he used to say to me, because I used to play around with the audience and make, because that's what I do, you know. And he said that's what I want to do. I want to do stuff like what you're doing, just, you know, riffing and just making mad stuff up. And he did, and he does it brilliantly. He's brilliant at it, you know. He's a master at it.
Yeah. And how? Obviously, you've now went into like acting. How does it feel to be like a film star now?
A film star. It's. I mean, you know, the Ken Loach film. You know, I was on the circuit and I was 59, and basically a friend of mine said, look, Ken Loach is looking for a bloke your age. So I sent a text off, and when it won the BAFTA, the casting director came up and she said, I've still kept your text. And when I read it, it said, hi, my name's Dave Jones. I'm a 59-year-old stand-up comic. I hear Ken Loach is looking for a bloke to be in his new film. I'd be up for that. and Ken laughed, and they got us in. I did auditions, and I never thought it was going to go as big as it did. I just thought, well, I'm working with Ken Loach. How cool is that? And it went massive. And since then, I've made, you know, I've been in about 6 films where I've played small sort of like supporting roles, and I've just finished a film with Alison Steadman. It's a 2-hander, which is called 23 Walks, which is about a couple in their 60s who meet on 23 walks, and it's about their relationship and how their relationship develops. It's a really sweet little story. And then I'm doing a thing up in the Hebrides next month. I've got a sitcom in development, so, you know, in a few little bits and bobs that I can't talk about, but yeah, I seem to have people just seem to want us in their films. And you know, I'm 63 now, so I'll just get on with it.
Well, enjoying it.
Well, I'll just Bob, what you have to, because I write, I do improv, I do with the Comedy Store Players down in London, with Josie Lawrence and Annie Smart and all that lot, and I so much enjoy that, and I get to work with all these amazing sort of people, and it's just, you know, I started off as a bricklayer, you know, and I just hated being a bricklayer. And I went down to the Comedy Store, saw the Comedy Store in 1987, a show, blew me away. Came back, was working at the Time Theatre. I'd work in the fly floors, just sort of like flying in scenery and that. And I had a little bistro, and I opened a comedy club, and I didn't know what was going on. I just got into it, and now it's May, and you know,
30 years on.
And I've been all over the world doing it. You know, I've been to sort of, you know, Australia, New Zealand, Cambodia, China, Japan, all over the shop, you know, doing stand up, and it's great to make people laugh. And people say to me, "You're doing films now. Why do you still do stand up?" And I go, because it's just great. It's just great to make people laugh. It's a great thing, and it's just, I think I do it well, you know. You know.
And Ken Loach has like a different approach to filming, doesn't he? Where it's like shot in sequence and it's scripts on the day and all that. How does that compare with like Fisherman's Friends and Walk Like a Panther? Well,
Walk Like a Panther was me next film after I had Daniel Blake, and it was completely different. I mean, you know, there was massive crew. So some of the scenes were in the wrestling scenes. There was like 2 cameras. I was doing scenes opposite Stephen Graham, who's a phenomenal actor. And you know, and sort of my first film thing was with he was in Snatch. I can't remember his name now. He's a brilliant actor. And I'm sorry, I can't remember his name now. Jason Fleming. And you know, so these people who are brilliant actors, and it was like cameras, and there was a big, massive, big crew, and they go, okay, and action, and all the silence, and all behind the camera, and then just you with him in the whole enormity of the light and all that, and I had to get used to that, you know, and that's something to get used to because Ken's very minimal, you know what I mean, and he gives you. I mean, there's times in Daniel Blake, I forgot I was in the film, you know. Because he uses it on lenses and he's very, he doesn't have loads of crew around. So yeah, it was all. So I've had to learn film like, you know, big films, you know, and like, you know, and then I went on to Fisherman's Friends, and it was a great cast. We were down in Cornwall for like 5 weeks, staying in Port Isaac. We got on so well together. It was beautiful weather, and it was a phenomenal hit, you know. I mean, you know, it was a great feel good little film, you know, and people loved it. And now we're making Fisherman's Friends 2 next year.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. We're going to start filming in next May and June, you know.
Well,
and so,
buzzing.
Well, I mean, it is what it is, you know. I mean, you know, it's not going to, like, you know, there is a market for just an easy, feel good, nice film that people can just go and sit back and just relax and enjoy and like the story, and there's a little love story in it and all that. You know, it's not Spider-Man, it's not like anything, but it is what it is, and it was such a joy to do, and it's a good feel good film. So yeah, it was great doing that. I enjoyed it, and I'm really excited we're going to do the second one. You know.
And you got on stage with them recently, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I did. They invited me. They did the Sage, so I went up and they invited me up, and I sang 2 songs with them. In South Australia I was born, heave away, haul away. South Australia round Cape Horn, we're bound for South Australia. Haul away, you're rolling kings. I'm a right little sort of sea shanty, I know, like, yeah. But, you know, those songs are really sort of rebel rousing and sort of, you know, they were there to, they were designed to keep the guys working on the sailing ship, so they have to have that big sort of like, you know, pull. Yeah, it is. It's great, man, yeah. And now my missus, she does the cleaning around the house, and she puts sort of like South Australia in Watford. I heard the old man sing, "Who John Canuck." I think, she's doing the cleaning because I can hear the Fisherman's Friends bopping about, you know.
And obviously you can remember the words to Fisherman Friends songs. Can you remember lines from like I, Daniel Blake and Walk Like a Panther? There's
bits of things that I mean. What you tend to do is you learn them on the day, and you just you do them, and then But no, I'm sure I can sort of. You know, I'm sure they would pop into my head, you know, because you see, my head. This is why comedy is good for me, because my head's full of shit, you know.
Yeah.
My head is full of ridiculous, daft, because I always cannot take anything seriously.
Yeah.
And even though I take my job serious and I take acting seriously, when you stand back from it, you go, this is insane that I'm pretending to be like a fisherman or I'm pretending to be a wrestler. You know what I mean? But it's great fun. And I get paid for doing something that's great fun.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel so lucky. I mean, that's the thing that's magic about this job, is that, you know, it must be the same when you're a rock star or you're in a band or you're in anything you can do for your job that's passion.
Yeah.
And you get paid for it, but you would do it for nothing, is a bonus, because we've all got to work. And, you know, I know what it was like when I had a job that I hated, you know, and, you know, it was like, you know, it was all right being a bricklayer when I was in my 20s, but imagine being 50, 60, still working on a building site in the wind, lifting big blocks up, and it's hard. And so most people, like, you know, do have horrible jobs, you know what I mean? That's why the comedy clubs laugh, and that's why and, you know, so I'm very, very lucky. I'm very fortunate that I can do the job I do, you know, and I never, ever take it for granted, ever, you know?
Do you know how you've just said there, how people come to escape from, like, what's going on in the world?
Yeah.
When you did I, Daniel Blake, that's bringing, like, the world into, like, entertainment.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, Daniel Blake, but, you know, Daniel Blake was it hit the ground at the right time, you know. There was a movement, and people, and what it did, it changed the narrative, because before that there was push that, you know, people on benefits were all scroungers and just didn't want to work, and that's not my case. When I meet people, most people want to work, they want to have a decent job, they want to look after their family, they want to feed the kids, they want to go on a holiday once a year. And what happens is with 0 hours contracts and people not knowing when they're going to work, and you know, low wages, and you know, and then, you know, Dan could be your father, he could be your uncle, he could be your grandfather, Katie could be your sister or your daughter, and it suddenly made people go, this is ordinary people here.
Yeah.
And this is a system that we thought we were paying into that
Yeah.
would help you when you were on the thing, but it's not. And it's like sanctions and for the tiniest little thing for being late. In what it does is it lumps everybody in this in this narrative that people who don't want to work. And I don't know anybody who would want to take their kids and their family to a food bank to have an easy life. I mean, you know, that's like, you know, it's a tough life, and I think, you know, now, you know, they're always shouting about, you know, full employment, but most people, like, you know, a lot of these jobs are like part-time. They're like 0 hours contracts, and sort of like, you know, and you get called up. It's like in the old days when they used to stand at a factory gates, and there'd like people, and there'd be loads of blokes, and the bloke would come out and go, you. Oh, not him. He's a union bloke. No, okay, you can go now. And then you'd go back and you go, no, I didn't get any work today. And that's what 0 hours contracts are like, you know. And it's all stacked in the employer's favour. And this is what happens about, you know, I'm frightened about this, like, you know, Brexit and all this, is that the employment rights in people's like, you know, it'll be deregularised. Everything will be deregularised. And what happens then is that it's a race to the bottom, and everybody gets, and the people who get shafted are the ordinary people. You know what I mean? You know. And that's always the case. You have to ask yourself, why do they want to push this through, you know? And so Ken's film came out at the right time, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it changed my life, you know, and it gave me, and I still try to do benefits for food banks and stuff like that, and I still try to do, but, you know, I'm just enjoying, you know, still doing stand-up, still doing the films I can, doing a bit of writing. I'm very lucky to be in the position I'm in, you know?
Yeah. And what would you say your career highlight is?
Oh, crikey, I mean, there's been so many, you know. I mean, when I first played the Comedy Store in London, you know, and I was thinking, oh my God, I'm a proper comic, I'm on the Comedy Store, when I played the Theatre Royal a couple of years ago, you know, here, you know, and I sold it out, and I'm on stage at the Theatre Royal. When I played the Arena for Sunday for Sammy, and there was 7,500 people in, you know, and I went onto the Arena. Going to my first time I went to Australia to the comedy festival out there in Adelaide and in Melbourne. There's been so many sort of like, you know, working with Stephen Graham, working with these great actors, you know, doing a film with Alison Steadman. I mean, you know, how cool is that, you know? And in that people are trusting you to, because the thing about getting a lead role in a film is, you know, people have to trust you that you can carry the film, and that's why I've got mates who've been actors for years. And they're very, very good actors, but they can't get a lead role because nobody will go. Oh, but I'm very lucky now. I've had 2 lead roles. I've had Daniel Blake, and if I haven't seen 23 Walks yet, but people say it's good. You know, that shows people, oh, you know, you can carry a film. You know. You know, and I've got my sitcom, which I'm in development now, which is I can't say much about yet, but that's looking good. And so, you know, I'm very sort of fortunate. So there's been a lot of highs, you know. Yeah. In every gig you do, you take something from. Yeah. Like, even when you, like, you know, when I used to do the clubs where I was like, there was loads of hens and stags, and like at the time you think, oh, I just want to get off this. This is mental. Yeah. But what it does is you don't realise that somewhere that will come in handy. It hardens you to you know, like you know, if somebody shouts out something with me, I've heard it all, you know, and so I don't get intimidated now, you know. But, you know, you can still have a terrible gig, you know. I mean, even after all this time, there's always one round the corner, you know. But it's how you deal with it now, you know. But yeah, it's a great, like you know, I'm 63 and I'm very fortunate to be able to still work and still not have it, because, you know, I mean, I've got no pension, so it's, you know, me and a friend of mine wrote the stage adaptation of the Shawshank Redemption, which now has gone into America. So hopefully that will be my pension from the royalties we'll get from that. But that's, you know, that's out there now, and we don't know when it will happen, you know. But it's all about just, you know, trying to. I'm just happy that, you know, I can make an okay living doing what I'm doing, you know.
Something like you love.
Yeah, I mean, all the comics on the circuit
Yeah.
think I'm a millionaire because I do films.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done independent films. You don't get paid millions for being in an independent film, but they go, oh, so do you get £1 million a picture? And I go, well, not quite, you know what I mean? Not quite, you know what I
A
mean?
little bit.
You know, it's crazy, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And you've had so many highs. Have you got like a low point in your career?
Maybe tonight.
Tonight.
When I die on my horse. I mean, like I said, you've, you know, it was hard at the start when you're learning your trade because
Yeah.
you're trying to see. I was very lucky because I had my own club, so I could compare my own club every week.
Yeah.
So if I was struggling, I would just get an act on. I'd
Yeah.
go, all right, here's Jack D.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'd come back on. So I learned quite quickly, you know.
Yeah.
But it's tough on the circuit now, you know, because like, you know, there's a lot of comics now, and the
Yeah.
money's never gone up for like 30 years, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's very, very tough on the circuit now, but you can still make it, you know, an all right living. But it's about having a joy with it, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, I've never taken myself that serious, you know. I mean, like I know I go on the film store and like I'll say, if an interview, God, I haven't won a BAFTA for years,
Yeah.
but it's all tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
It's all a load of old guff, really,
Yeah.
you know. But it's good fun. I mean, when I went to the BAFTAs in Cannes Film Festival, and I was, I met. I was at the bar, and Meryl Streep was coming towards the bar, and I turned around and I just went, Meryl, it's all free! And she went, yeah, I know. But, you know, and just meeting all those crazy
Yeah.
people like that, you know what I mean? And you know, and all these, like, film stars that come up to you, like Donald Sutherland, and go, yeah, your film's great, you know, and you just go, oh my God, that's Donald Sutherland off the film.
Yeah.
So, you know, and you always feel, oh, but yeah, it was just a laugh, you know. It was just, to me, it's about keeping the joy and keeping
Yeah.
your heart and just not taking it too serious and
Yeah.
just being yourself, you know.
Yeah. And how hard do you find it to make material now that the world's become more
God.
more aware?
Oh God, I mean, what I try to do is I just try, like I've never written anything down ever.
Yeah.
So I try to just make it up, and if I forget it, I forget it, and if I
Yeah.
remember it, it's in the set. If I forget it, I forget it, and I try to like I've got this thing about Elvis in drinking water at Las Vegas, which I just made up one night because they put a glass of water on the floor for us, and then I was talking about the way Elvis had flares
Yeah.
was to cover his glass of water, and I had this whole thing, and it's working really well now. That was just made up. Most of my stuff's just been made up off the
Yeah,
cuff, just
from
playing
stuff.
around. But
Yeah.
I've never written anything down, and I just remember it or I don't, you know.
Yeah.
And if I remember it, I remember it. If I don't, I don't. So I don't have a plan of what I'm going to do out
Yeah.
there. I just pull
Just go
bits
for it,
out, and then I've got material, but whether I remember it or not,
Yeah.
I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
I just got to get through an hour. That's all, you know.
Yeah.
I can
Just
sing.
gotta get
I can
through.
sing some sea shanties. I don't know who's come tonight. They're just people who have seen the film, and people who have seen us
Yeah.
here, and people who have seen us in different bibs.
bits.
Like you never know. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You know. I mean, the worst thing is when you go on stage and there's somebody you know sitting in the front row.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, an old work colleague came to a gig once,
Oh.
and they sat right in the front row, right in front of me, in the front seat, and it's just, and you've got this person that you know, but you haven't seen for 35 years, and they're like, look,
Yeah.
and it's really off-putting,
Yeah.
you know, because you know them,
Yeah.
and do you say, oh, this is me mate, or do you,
Yeah.
like, you know, it's a hard, like if I was going to see a friend, I would be sitting at the back, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, that's one of my pet hates in
Yeah.
stand-up, you know. So if you're listening, don't ever do that. And then probably everybody will come down and sit in the front
Everyone
row.
that you know.
Yeah, and go in the
next door
front row.
neighbours,
Aye,
everyone
yeah,
will come.
I know.
And finally, what's your favourite joke?
My favourite joke
Yeah.
is the one about Jesus. He's at the Last Supper,
Yeah.
and all in the finished their meal, and they're sitting down, and Jesus says, "Tonight, one of you are going to betray me," and they all look like, "What? No, Lord." He goes, "One of you will betray me tonight," and Peter goes, "Is it me, Lord?" And he goes, "No, Peter, it's not you." And Matthew goes, "Is it me, Lord?" And Matthew goes, "No, it's not you." And Luke goes, "Is it me, Lord?" And he goes, "No, it's not you, Luke." And Thomas goes, "Is it me, Lord?" And he goes, "No, it's not you." And he goes right round the table that gets to Judas. And Judas goes, "Is it me, Lord?" And Jesus goes, "Is it me, Lord?" That's my favourite joke. Is it me, Lord? I love that joke.
Are you telling that one tonight?
No. That's just a joke I remember from when I was a kid, but I've always found it funny, you know.
Right. Thank you.